Our next speaker is Gauthier van Malderen. He is the founder of Perlego. Nova, start your engines.
Young entrepreneurs are able to change the future. Our next guest is the living proof of it. He started his company at a very early age and makes expensive textbooks affordable for students across the globe. Please welcome on stage the Robin Hood of the university textbooks, Gauthier van Malderen, CEO of Perlego.
Hi Gauthier, thank you for joining us. How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I must congratulate you because I love your idea. How did you got the idea for Perlego?
Oh, thank you. So Perlego kind of came out of a personal pain point of mine, which was expensive price of textbooks. Being a recent former student myself, what was really interesting was, I would download books illegally, I would buy secondhand copies. I was streaming my music, I was streaming my movies, and I thought, okay, surely when it comes to learning content, I should be able to stream that as well. I had built up a previous business, which I'd sold, and I had a bit of money to start this and been doing it ever since.
It's an amazing idea. And the subscription, is it like a Netflix subscription or how do I have to imagine it?
Yeah, so think of it like this. You pay 12 euros a month and you get access to 550,000 titles. Anything from zoology to biology, you can find anything anything you want to learn, you can find on Perlego.
And the target audience, it is really only students or?
That's a great question. So initially I had thought that our initial target market was 18 to 24-year-olds. Mm-hmm. So, either first year students but what we've noticed is one of the biggest trends in education is lifelong learning. So the fact that you might need to upskill or reskill during your career, about 30 to 35% of Perlego's users today are professionals, be it consultants, dentists, doctors, who use it as an online learning library.
It's amazing. And do you only have books for students, like course books, or have you also other types of books available?
Yeah, so we've got kind of 3-4 types of content. The first is what I call professional content. So maybe GMAT, CFA, all those kind of learning books that you need post your studies. Then we have very much the introduction economics textbooks, that kind of stuff. The third is much more monographs. So these are much more heavier content that you might read in your 3rd, 4th year study. And then we have also best-selling non-fiction titles.
Okay.
Blue Ocean Strategy, Harvard Business Review, that kind of stuff.
And do you think that maybe in the future you will also add some fictional books?
Yeah, unfortunately not. So I really want to build this place where you find your online learning library. Now, fiction is important. Let's say you're studying English literature, you need some fiction content. But honestly speaking, I don't think Perlego ever will have 50 Shades of Grey because it's a very different segment to what we're building today.
Yeah, I understand. And you as a student, what did you study?
So I did economics, management, finance at Bocconi, and then I did economics at the University of Cambridge.
And as a student, you also did a lot of side project. What is it that attracts you in entrepreneurship?
It's a great question. So I think ultimately I get bored quite quickly. So building up my own kind of venture is something that gives me the intellectual stimulation I need. I just enjoy doing it. So I think I think a lot of entrepreneurs are born and a lot of them are made, but for me, it's something I've had, since quite some time.
And what do you do in your free time to lay off and forget about the stress and the workload?
Great question. I hate. So I should answer. All I do is work, right? No. So I'm bizarrely, in light of COVID-19, I'm getting very into cycling now.
Okay.
So maybe this is my Flemish genes, but I'm doing a bit of coursing, a bit of cycling. But yeah, in terms of hobbies and stuff, I don't have that many passions or hobbies. Palego is my passion and my hobby at the same time.
Was it hard, COVID-19, for you guys? Did you flourish due to the crisis, or did you had a setback?
Yeah, no, so it's absolutely terrible to say, sorry, but Palego has grown by more than 1,500% due to COVID-19, with all the bookshops closing. A lot of students who can't go to university, it has greatly accelerated the need for digital solutions in education. So for me, it's been a blessing in disguise and has really, really accelerated the business quite drastically.
It's great to hear that due to COVID-19, there are also some amazing projects flourishing. Sorry, but when you started, did you had any setbacks at the beginning?
Oh, totally. I think, it's all about making mistakes and making them very quickly. So one of the biggest mistakes we made was when we started Palego, we didn't hire a designer. So we basically had coders who were shipping code, but then it didn't actually work from a UI UX perspective. So that's one big learning I had. Other setbacks, we've been hacked. Trust me, any problem you can have when you're building a business, it'll probably come your way. But I'd say it's much more of a marathon than a sprint. So you always got to look to the future, and it's all part of the roller coaster, right? You get some massive highs and some massive lows.
And have you have you some tips for our students to overcome these obstacles? Like, what did you learn from yourself personally to persevere and to continue?
Yeah, so just to give you the example, right? When we started Palego, I had no experience in publishing, no experience in education. So, the first time I was pitching to these publishers, I was like, this was 3-4 years ago, so like 25, I was like, I had no idea. We got our first 100 publishers after like 3 months. Today we've got over 3,000, but it takes time, perseverance, and iterating your kind of pitch and business model as you go. So I think my recommendation would just get cracking, get on it straight away. I see a lot of people that I speak to that's like, no, I'm going to do a business plan for 7 months. Your business plan isn't reality, right? Start with reality and work your way backwards, because things change so quickly that your business plan will be out of date the day you start the venture.
I think that's some great advice. How long ago did you start with Perlego?
January 2017. Okay. So yeah, 4 years, 3-4 years now, yeah.
And what does the future hold for Perlego?
It's super exciting. So if you think of Palego today, right? Today we've been very much focused on providing the core textbooks. But what we've noticed is a lot of students, they also collaborate. They also want to upload notes. So do you mind if I screen share and I kind of show you where we're going from a product perspective?
Please go ahead.
Awesome. So can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Great. So kind of the future of Palego will be, you'll still very much have your textbooks, but in the future it will allow students, professors to upload their own notes. You studied in Belgium, right?
Yeah.
So you studied from the dispense. You had a lot of things where you didn't actually need textbooks, but you learned from the notes from other students. So, speaking to students, one thing that some of the very intelligent students say is, hey, I write up these whole notes and the next day my class has the whole thing. Well, imagine you as a professor or as a student can upload your notes and you become a micro publisher. But what I'm most excited about is actually collaboration on the book. So today, if you think of reading, think of it very much as a one-sided learning experience, right? You have your book, you study by yourself, and then you do your exam. Imagine in the future, if you could work with your professors, your classmates directly on the book. You could add in your video content, you could add in your Spotify playlist, for example, and you could make this public or private. So you could work with all your classmates or just by yourself. That's kind of where we're taking the product over the next kind of 2-3 quarters. And what I'm personally much more excited about is the ability to build that network effect.
I think it's very interesting how you made something that is in a lot of minds of students maybe a bit dull, like this big course textbooks. They prefer to read other things, and you made it in a way sexy, or maybe sexy is the wrong word, but yeah, you made it interesting. It's really truly amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, textbooks aren't sexy. I'll give you that, but we're trying our best.
I've heard that you guys raised millions already. How did you do it?
Yeah, great questions. Yeah, so we've raised quite a lot of money. Unfortunately, Pelego is quite a capital-intensive business, right? If you want to disrupt a $17 billion industry, you need capital to, but one, build product, scale up your team, and also, I think a lot of defensibility is through scales to get lots of users quite quickly. I think ultimately, it's in the early days, it's all about passion and pitch. So if you're very passionate about your project, and if people have confidence that you're the person to do that, raising your first 1 or 2 million should be relatively easy. It's important to note as well is, funding both in Belgium and in Europe is all-time high. There's a great appetite to invest in early stage companies. When you're getting a bit bigger, there's much more of a business plan. There's much more of, financials behind it. But ultimately, I think, my one core learning, it's still very much all about the people. People invest in people. So if you're very passionate, you've got a great project, that's how you can ultimately raise quite a bit of capital.
And how do you start with measuring how much capital you need? How do you know what the costs will be? How do you make your financial plan?
Yeah, so if you think about it, in the early days, your biggest cost will be people, right? You need to hire people to build your product. Again, I'm talking from a tech background. If you're doing a production business, it's completely different. So the way you do it is simple maths. I need 10 people. Average salary is, let's say, 45,000 euros. Plus, I need a bit of a marketing expense. The way I do it is very high level. And then I raise 20% extra because, as we know, life never goes to plan. You always need a bit of a buffer. And one recommendation I would make is, if you look at Pelego, we raise 1, 7, 15. It's raised continuously. Don't raise big amounts. Raise, smaller amounts and raise more than raising lots of money in one go because, the business changes quite quickly. So will the capital requirements.
And how does it feel to turn the world of classic academic publications upside down?
Yeah, so I often make the joke that if I had known how complicated the publishing industry was, I would have never built Pelego. But I think, look, ultimately you need a bit of what I call ignorance of youth or ignorance of not working in the industry. So again, I really want to stress, everyone who I said in publishing was oh, you'll never manage to get, the big publishers on board. We now have all majors and we have their full portfolio. So I think you need to be a bit almost breaking the status quo. And if you have 30 years experience in an industry, sometimes you might not have the motivation to do so because you already have, your preconceptions from working in that industry.
Have you some advice for the students at home who want to launch their own startup?
Yeah, so I think my 3 pieces of advice for Belgian founders, I'm Belgian myself, is think internationally. I love my country, Belgium's amazing, but you can't build $1 billion company only focused on Belgium. So from day one, think in terms of scale and think of building a global product. Just to look at Pelego today, 35% of our users are now coming from North America. So, think globally. The second is just get on with it. I see so many people who are hesitant and don't. If you fail and you've lost maybe, the initial capital of 3,000-4,000 euros to build the business, it's a great learning experience. I call building a company almost like a fancy MBA. I hope, we don't have people from MBA courses, but it's a cheaper way to learn. And then I think thirdly is surround yourself with great people. So, looking at my own skill set, I'm not a great coder. I'm not a great techie. So my co-founder is that perfect complementary, character, much calmer than me, and is a great coder. So don't do it alone. It's very, very tough, especially in your first business, to build it by yourself.
And when did you knew that the idea you had for Pelego was a good idea? Because I think you have millions of ideas, but when do you know it's the right one?
Oh, I think, look, again, speaking super honestly, you always have seeds of doubt, right? Even today, we're growing very fast, but I still have some doubt of things here and there. So your business will never be perfect. But when did I know? I just, honestly, for me, I can resonate with the problem, right? So I don't know if you have a personal problem, but if you can fix that problem for yourself, you've got a good business because the end user, you can resonate with that. So I think good businesses are real problems that you have as a founder or someone starting the company.
It's amazing. And how would you Before we wrap up, I'm very curious to hear your pitch for Perlego. Can you pitch me Perlego in like 60 seconds?
Hello.
We have a...
Yeah, it was in. No worries, all good.
We hadden een klein probleempje. Ik ga er beginnen. Before we're wrapping up, I'm very curious if you could pitch me Perlego in like 60 seconds.
Oh, great one. Perlego came out of a personal pain point of mine, which was expensive price of textbooks. Textbook prices have increased by 847% since 1982, or 3 times the rate of inflation. What was really interesting is it's also important to note that on the publisher side, the 4 big publishers have all seen their revenues decline due to piracy and due to the secondhand book market. So the solution we built has been branded as the Spotify for textbooks. Solution for students is a simple space where they find all their learning material, and solution for publishers is a way to distribute content more efficiently, recuperating revenue from piracy and mitigating the secondhand book market.
Thank you very much, Gauthier, for joining us. I wish you all the best of luck with the future of Perlego. Thank you very much. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.